there is one place that you can count on to a certain degree that you won't hear of any black on black violence, and that is a garden center.
The land is not idle. You
Yeah.
use it, you grow things, whether it's a few herbs that you use in your cooking.
I mean, when you consider that there were generations of Africans and black people that have been severed from our natural environment.
Yeah.
With nature, often with nature comes space.
Organize, sit down, reason and talk. Aquaba to another O.R.T, where the panelists and I go digging around in the roots as we analyze black people and their connection to nature. So Aquaba to another O.R.T, the show of love, light, and laughter with our resident panelists, our voice of compassion, Ebony Harmony.
Greetings all.
Our eye of analysis, Kindred Spirit.
Greetings from me too.
We don't have our king of one-liners here tonight. I hope he's coming, but I think when I was listening back to the last quiz, I think he's got cold feet because the girls were running off into the distance. So we'll see what's happening. So I'm also here, your host, our Kush. And what's caught your eye since we've last spoken, Kindred?
It's not a new story. It's been around for a few weeks, but it's one that's been on my mind, which is Stevie Wonder moving to Ghana.
Yes, man.
Yes.
Then you never know, says him here that we're doing the same thing. So
We're doing the same.
I just follow him. I follow you. That's how.
But you know what? It made me realize it's like he can't see, and yet he sees so clearly.
Wow.
Doesn't he?
Ah, yes, indeed.
That's what it kind of brought home to me, that he cannot see, and yet he can see. Because he made it clear that he wants to go to a place where he feels welcome and accepted. And what I do know about Stevie Wonder is that he does have a track record of activism.
Yes.
Oh yeah, man.
And I thought, well, you know, this is, it's profound. And
What
at
is-
his time of life as well, he's what? He's a great-grandfather, I believe. And yet he is still prepared to act, to up sticks and move. I think
To
that's
set an example.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, yes.
It shows you that sight has little to do with seeing.
It's all relative, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly.
You know something? Security just let me know. Say, I think Brother S is in the place. Are you there, Brother S?
Yay!
Is he wearing a mask?
coming through.
Welcome.
Brother S, you know what they were saying? They were saying that you're chicken off. Because you did that beat. They did that beat.
Can you hear this?
Kush, behave yourself. Kush, behave yourself.
Trust me. Trust me. And that them say.
Huh? I say, watch picnic back, but don't watch them belly. Listen to this man.
I tried my best to hold it down, but they were a force to be reckoned with. You know?
Okay.
So yeah, we're just sharing what's caught our eye since we last spoke, and Kindred was speaking about Stevie Wonder, who is moving to Ghana.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wonderful thing, and kudos to him about where he is in his life at this time, and how he feels that it's an important gesture, more than just a gesture, but a statement of his intent, and making a huge step in terms of migrating there. So good on him.
Yeah, man. And to some of these places where them just letting crime get out of hand, I'm not gonna call up any names, but this is the kind of thing that can happen. People don't want to go to places where they're living in war zones, so them need to increase the security in some of our other countries where we want to return to. So what's caught your eye, Brother S?
I'm not sure, actually. Well, probably have been some things. Oh, I don't know. This week, I don't know. Actually, I'd have to think on.
So, Evan, what was going on for you? What catch your eye?
Well, what caught my eye this week was actually in the spirit of the quiz. And it was that Bolton-born son of Jamaican parents, BBC broadcaster Clive Myrie, was named this week as the new mastermind
Oh
presenter
yeah,
of Stay
yeah,
What you saying?
Yes,
yes.
So,
that
who you
really
sleep
caught
with
my
forget
eye.
that job?
Well, you have to go ask him that one.
Ooh.
But yes, that was a nice eye catcher for me, you know?
This man, it's coming like they might give black man the family jewels. God, there is no
Well.
Kool-Aid in mastermind, not a
Yeah,
trace.
not a drop.
Oh,
Yes. And,
all right.
so yes, it's what caught my eye this week,
Okay.
amongst
So
other things. But I thought I'd bring that through, bearing in
yeah,
mind the quiz, as we said.
it's hard to discriminate, but I had a couple of things. I'm not going to cheat by squeezing the two of them in, but
No.
I'm going to go for the president of Tanzania, John Magufuli. He died age 61.
Oh
Oh,
He is the
yes.
one
Yes.
that send out all these fruits to be tested for COVID, and then come back positive. So,
yeah,
and then he gonna go dead just like boom.
Mhm.
So it's highly suspicious.
yeah,
And he said
Highly.
that
Indeed.
yeah,
he was
Indeed.
assassinated, but that's not
yeah.
that is not good, you know. And I was so
No.
emboldened when I saw the video of him, you know. It was so uplifting during the initial anxiety of this thing. When you see people like him stand up. So yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
yeah, you know, it's a sad
Indeed.
loss. But we give thanks that he was here and he did his bit. In terms of the quiz last week, which prominent black actress turned down the role in Monsters Ball, the movie? The answer being, I'm not going to tell you as nobody wrote in to give the answer this week. So the question still stands, and you can send your answers to the email address in the description box below. And there is a book that will be on offer from today's show. And today we'll be discussing black people and nature. But before that, we have our quiz. And I know I'm in the company of some of the sharpest minds when it comes down to matters related to melanated people. Question 1. When white people are poorly, what are black people?
Sick.
Them sick, man.
Sick or sick bad?
Them sick, that's for real.
Bad, yeah.
They really not
Okay.
feel so good.
Back broke.
And so many different parts can be sick. You know, you can sick with your hand, you can sick with your foot, you can sick with your head, you can sick with your eye.
It's sick.
I just sickness.
That's sick.
And then after that you get sick and dead. But yes, sick. So question 2. Question 2. Black Uhuru is a Jamaican roots reggae band. Original members consisting of Ducky Simpson, Puma Jones, and Michael Rose. What does Uhuru mean out of these three? Freedom, fire, or power?
I just say power.
I think it's power.
I think it's. Oh yeah.
You think it's oh yeah? I don't think that's one of the options.
I'm gonna say freedom. Black
And
freedom.
you
I think.
are
That's where I'm going.
100% right. It is
Oh!
Swahili for freedom. Question 3. What is the name of the currency that has been launched by the African nations recently? What is the name of the currency recently
God, oh
launched by
God, I
African
know.
nations?
Any clues?
Yes, you have a choice of three:
Okay.
the lumi, the asar, or the dollar. The lumi, the asar, or the dollar. In this case, it maybe have the words "gimme the" before dollar, but we don't know as yet.
So,
Oh dear. I thought I would knew
That's
this,
yet
but clearly
that's
not.
yet
Yeah,
to be
I
confirmed.
read about it also. I read about it,
Yeah.
and I've gone
Listen,
completely
we
blank.
have an Alzheimer's test last week, and on the pass, you know.
Well,
so, so
look
sit in
like
your
it come
recount.
back, innit?
Do you want me to put you out your miseries?
Please.
Yeah.
this guess.
It's the Lumi.
Lumi. Ah.
The Lumi, a
Okay.
currency backed
Okay.
by
Yeah.
solar energy, which is also being used to some controversy in Accompong Town in St. James, Jamaica.
Okay.
Question
Uh-huh.
4. What was car manufacturer Bavarian Motorworks BMW's initials known as by black people?
Black man
Black
wheels.
man
That man
vehicle.
wagon.
Black
Black
man
man
wagon.
Well
wheels.
done,
Man
Ebony.
wheels.
Black man wagon. Black. Oh yeah, you could say black man. Them to say black man wheels as well as
But
Bob Marley and the
Yeah, we used to
Wailers.
say black man wheel.
Yes.
You did,
yeah.
you did. All right, all right. Then I'll get one dumpling for sure. Don't worry. Hush.
You're too generous, Kush.
Question
You're too generous.
question 5. What year was Live Aid out of these three?
Oh.
Oh yes.
1984, 1985, or 1986?
Let me try and remember.
Feed the world.
I
Of
think.
30 years. Nearly something.
I think. Let's go for eight. What did you say? 85, 80.
No, 84.
84, 85,
86.
86.
I'm gonna go 80.
I'm going to go 85.
Yeah, I was thinking 85 as
I'm
well.
going 84.
That feels about, 85.
Yeah.
You see, brother S? You see, brother
I
S?
think
Remember
about
me, I
it.
tell you. Okay, good. You love for kickball straight in the crowd. It's 1985. Live Aid was a benefit concert held on Saturday, the 13th of July, 1985. The original event was organized by Bob Geldof and Midge Ure.
Yes. Yes.
And some
I remember
commentators.
Lenny Henry in the mix somewhere as well.
Was that
No,
later?
it was the night was
Was
Bob.
it later, Lenny Henry?
Yeah, it was Bob.
Yeah.
It was Bob. And Midge-Ure.
Yeah. Yeah, at the very big start.
Yeah, and some commentators say that part of its legacy is that it just reinforced poor black people dependent on white people. You know, with all the goodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did feel that.
Didn't hear any argument
Yes.
I must, in his defense, at the time, I didn't feel, but who's to know? You know, we were young ourselves then.
Yeah.
But it did
We
highlight.
were fully in the grips of knowing that we were dependent on white people.
Well, I'm not saying that. Right? But I think it would be remiss not to consider that being part of whatever they were promoting. But for him as an individual, I got a sense of congruence from him, that he actually had a heartfelt desire to.
Yeah, in the world, do some good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That just shows how tricky this system of white supremacy is, that it somehow still ties in their needs somewhere down the lines, you know, even when the EMs are genuine by a certain individual. That is the hurdle that needs to be overcome.
Yeah.
Question
We're
6.
still in the grip of inner city disturbances at that
for
period
sure.
as well,
Thank
weren't we?
you.
So it's
sure.
interesting
Absolutely.
times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another
Which
discussion.
African? Yes, one for discussion at another time. Which African country has the highest IQ out of these three? South Africa, Mauritius, or Sierra Leone?
The highest IQ.
Highest.
And I wonder how they would establish that.
Yeah, what's that based on? I wonder.
Well, I think them say them testing upon the subjects that come up on O.R.T.
Oh, well, then it has to be Sierra Leone then.
But it must be high then, isn't it? Must be high.
So Sierra Leone.
I'm guessing Sierra Leone, I think. That's just
Any
based
other
on,
Is it Sierra
gestures?
Leone,
Or
Mauritius,
or
what's the
has
other one?
Ebony
South
kicked the
Africa?
ball in the crowd?
yeah, no, I'm sticking with that completely based on the one
I
Sierra Leone I know.
Okay.
I am going to go for South Africa.
Good.
It's another
That's
good
a
shout.
strong. That's a
It's a
strong.
And I,
it's a strong shout. But I'm gonna
Strong.
this time I'm gonna go with one of the sisters, but I think I'm gonna go Sierra Leone.
Well, I can see you protecting people's eyes in the crowds now by not kicking the ball over there. It is well done.
Oh,
Question 7. Now listen to this. If as a result of this show, more black people increase their connection with nature, a white person, surprised at the outcome, may say, "Look at you." What might a Jamaican say?
well, you.
What?
choir.
I'm gonna have to give it to Ebony there. She was straight out of
Wow.
the blocks there.
Wow.
Whoa, you can't see what pine pound, right? Okay, so and it's a phrase that is excellently
Straight from yard, Ebony. Straight from yard.
excellently demonstrated in this song by Reggie Stepper. Oh, you know that song, Ebony?
Uh,
Reggie
give me a little
Stepper.
reminder. Which one?
Ko'ono.
Oh, Ku'uno.
Ah,
That
yes.
one.
Now, if anybody's interested to know where Ebony was when these songs were playing, now
All is revealed.
see you on the other side.
Have a look in the description box below. Yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to championship, is we have it. And when it comes to dignitary, oh God, we're not talking about the business. We are very versatile. And when it comes to sound, you can pass we, because we have done cross the border already and all them kind of thing there. Step up into like good boy.
Cause when I sound but my sound, I'm look up on a champion sound. How we out of class, I'm gonna do the camouflage business. We're step around with that. Okay? Alright. Let's keep fine. Come! Ku'uno to. Ku'uno to. Come again. Ku'uno to. Set a satellite and a set a monocono. Set a idiot and a set a damn taco. Set a masquerade and a set a damn cono. Won't try for do. Won't try for do. Touch a register for that a double trouble. Touch a fi me sound a that a triple trouble. Touch a me selector that a couple trouble. We will pop your one and pop your foot down in the ankle. Right away fling a that a living trouble. Anytime we come you know a living trouble. Ku'uno to. Come again. Ku'uno to. Son boy. Ku'uno to.
This is O.R.T.
This is Solomon from Black Child Promotions, one of the UK's best black book distributors, and we operate across London. Our main locations are usually Oxford Circus on Tuesdays or Wednesdays and Brixton Thursday and Friday. Come check us out. You can also check us out on Instagram at Black Child Promotions and Facebook Black Child Space Promotion. Peace, family.
This week's book recommendation is Farming While Black by Leah Penniman. Some of our most cherished sustainable farming practices have roots in African wisdom, yet discrimination and violence against African American farmers has led to their decline from 14% of all growers in 1920 to less than 2% today, with a corresponding loss of over 14 million acres of land. Further, black communities suffer disproportionately from illness related to lack of access to fresh food and healthy natural ecosystems. Leah Penniman, co-founder of Soulfire Farm, is committed to ending racism and injustice in our food system by increasing farmland stewardship by people of color, promoting equity in food access, and training the next generation of activist farmers. Farming While Black offers the first comprehensive manual for African heritage people ready to reclaim their rightful place of dignified agency in the food system. This one-of-a-kind guidance provides readers with a concise how-to for all aspects of small-scale farming, including finding land and resources, writing a farm business plan, preserving the harvest, and saving seed and much more. Owning our land, growing our food, educating our youth, participating in our own health and justice system. Penniman writes, this is the source of real power and dignity.
Or there's the perennials which come back every year. They're easy to keep. These are outdoor. Then you've got things like this, which they get a tiny little white flower if I remember rightly. Or you've got something like this. Daffodils come back every year, but they're only here for the spring because you've got different. Yeah. But if you put them in like they're in the pot, but if you put them, you can break them up and put them in the ground. Right. And then once they've died, let them all die off, and they look horrible. But then just cut the tops off once they've all flopped over and all gone brown. Yeah. And then they will spread. Well, it depends where you plant it. It will spread, but they come in different colours. The heather. Okay. These are only like for a year. These are not winter hardy. But you can get hardy ones.
O.R.T. We do it cause we love you.
This show is sponsored by Sunrise Organic Sea Moss, whose purchasing details are in the description below.
Sunrise Organic Sea Moss. Who say can drink sunshine?
Now back to the debate.
Perfect. 1 minute.
Je parle pas.
Are we ready? Yeah. You ready? Okay. Greetings, Nancy.
Greetings, and I respect goddess. And I respect the king.
Greetings, sis.
Greetings.
Okay. So, the podcast we're talking about this week. Tell me, what comes to mind when you think about black people and nature?
Black people and nature are one. That's the one thing I know. Our grandparents used to, only use nature for everything. I come from Martinique and Benin. So in Martinique, we had a plant, we called it headache. We had one, we call it bellyache. So everything is just like, we know what to do.
This one is jelly coconut. Well, some people say jelly coconut, but we call it coconut. I believe the higher the fruit is, the more electric. So this one, electrolytes. Alright. Mango. Again, the higher the fruit, more electric. Mango, you can do anything with it, eat it as it is, make a smoothie, make a salad, anything. Artificial sun. Up there, so we call it moon pan stick. Now we're going under from above, and now we're going under. This is sweet potato. This one, we have many types. This is a white one. Got red and pink and purple. The white one is the sweetest one.
Which part to come from?
Uganda. Alright. The avocado.
Yes, man.
The queen of fruits, in my opinion. You can do anything with it. The best way to use it, or the most potent, is to use the seed. Most of us throw away the seed, use the seed. Greater the seed, get the powder, use that, make tea, and drink the water. That's it. Alright, right way up, wrong way down. This is yam. The head. Most people throw away the head. Don't throw away the head, save the head. Maybe you could stick it in your garden and get a nice flowers. Yeah, you can do anything with it. Fry, boil, roast, anything. We have the king of yam, my opinion again. This is a yellow yam, otherwise called apple. There's two types of apple yam, yellow and white apple. This is the one I like. It's quite hard, so when you're boiling it, you can boil it for an hour and it still don't mash up. So it's one of them yam that's best for soup. Roasted.
I hear that when you're doing soup, you're supposed to use the young yam because them soft or them.
It depends on who doing the soup, because if you some people like their soup thick. when the thing mash out, we like a soup with water in there.
What are we talking about?
I will ask you a question. Okay.
You're going to ask me a question?
I'm going to ask you one question, brother. Right? Thank you for agreeing to talk.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Tell me what comes to mind, what you think about when you think about black people and nature.
Well, the easiest way to explain that is that we are the nature people, the original nature people. Now, the easiest way I can explain that is I don't live around here. I don't work around here. As you can see, I'm in my work clothes still. But every Friday is my ritual to come to Brixton to get some veg, some resin to burn, just to keep my harmony with nature itself.
And although we have a path where we lost this tradition, but I feel like it's coming back tenfold. And with the era of information, people are just Googling, you know, like, oh, what can help with my this or what can help with that. So as far as I'm concerned, I have not taken a medicine since I gave birth, and that was 22 years ago. I do not take tablet, I do not take nothing. In fact, I don't actually need it because I use plant for everything. For my skin, I will make an avocado oil and just use that for the month. When that's done, I will make a papaya oil and use that for the month.
And in particularly also for men to discover who they are very important. And if our generation the coming generation need to have a wonderful life, men need to come back to themselves and honor their life, and honor not because women or what the civilization have been talking about. We need to honor women as men honor themselves, so they need to honor and love because that is what they are transmitting to their children. If a son or even daughter see the father the way he was doing, or father leaving home and so on, what will the boy or the daughter think of? So, that's not the meaning of life. But the thing is that we have to try every mother, our mother, every woman, our mother. Not because we don't have a child that she should not try to educate or protect or look after a child as, you know, from your heart. No, everything doesn't have to be money. Okay, because when I was growing up, you can leave your child without even knowing them in a compound home, and they will take care of their child. You see, with love. So I pray and I ask, please mothers, stand up and watch out for children. They don't need to be yours, but take care of them.
So plant is very big for me and the people around me. So I'm trying to speak to everyone at the moment, my parents, to just come back to it. In fact, today there's a plant that needs to be known. It's the noni, and it's for the black community, something that's very needed. Sorry, oh my God, I forget that. You know, it's the noni is brain adaptogen. So basically what it does, it's a fruit and you make it as a juice, and his only job is to fix up the brain. That's his only job. If there's anything that is not wired properly, he will fix it.
And let me talk about warfare. Yeah? Because in the West, what has kept black people down from a long time, right, is warfare. We cease to defend ourselves. So we can defend physically with natural things, like the art of martial arts, boxing. Even boxing, when them try to cheat you out of. Me say I cheat my fighter, Deontay Wilder, the great fighter. So I cheat him out of his title, right? We can defend ourselves physically in a natural form. But you know, see Babylon like that. The lighter race of people, right? The white man, the European, the Indian, the Chinese. One of the natural things that black people can use to defend themselves, which is not of any kind of ballistic warfare, is voodoo. Obia and voodoo, the natural order. You know what I'm saying?
So So welcome back to the reasoning on black people and nature. And what gave rise to this topic was I was thinking that there is one place that you can count on to a certain degree that you won't hear of any black on black violence, and that is a garden center. And then that got me thinking about how do we relate to nature if we're not known or we don't have those presence in those spaces there that think about the environment, that appreciates the changes in seasons, like we're going into spring now, and how that changes has the potential to lighten our moods and make us feel more optimistic. I started to wonder about, well, what is our relationship with the earth, especially as living in cities is becoming more and more the norm. And with that, it also means sometimes living in very densely populated areas that have little green spaces. So that's what gave rise to this discussion, was that whole absence of our presence near environmental sources such as garden centers or protests about water, the quality of water, the quality of air and so forth, the pollution in the air, and where is our presence? So I welcome your views on that.
There's a lot in that. One of the things that I was thinking about is that this connects to some extent to our last discussion about wealth. And in the sense that those of us, our parents who came from the Caribbean, the type of backgrounds that most of them came from, there was access to land. Black people own land, black people have little plots of land, even if it's just a little square outside your front door. For some people, it might have been a larger plot that you're harvesting and getting some kind of income from. But there is a connection to land. And you grow things. The land is not idle. You use it, you grow things, whether it's a few herbs that you use in your cooking, or whether it's for medicines or food to eat, you use that land. It's not worthless, it has value. And you have to tend it and look after it, which breeds patience and teaches you about care. And so that connection to the land is ongoing. And I remember the very first time I went to Jamaica, and the kind of little things like the children knew what season it was by the leaves on the trees. They knew what grew where, what time it was for the mango. They knew this. This was, very small children knew this. So that connection to the land was there. And then our parents' generation came over here, and that connection was lost. But many of them over here were, they were getting allotments and things like that. If they had a back garden, there was still a tendency to grow things. So the spirit was still there, even though the access to land was a bit more limited. And I think for us, born and raised in the city, and for some reason that connection got lost. We go into the supermarket or the shops, we see fruit and veg, often wrapped up in packaging, with no sense of the fact that somebody had to grow it and water it and tend it.
Complete
disconnect, and that is seen as sophistication. It's to get your hands dirty, to put your hands in the soil, is something that is somehow beneath you. You're supposed to grow out, you evolve away from that. That's what people who have, that's what they do when they don't have other options. That's not what you do when you have money. It's not a sign of wealth. When you have wealth, you go and buy, you let other people do the dirty work. So it's a complete shift in how we see our connection to nature.
I would 100% agree with you, Kindred, definitely. And I think the Western society that we've been raised in, I think it doesn't encourage us to even garner the idea that, black people are connected with nature. If anything, it's the reverse. It's about disconnecting that from nature. Yeah. And, you know, I think the general idea is promoted that
we're connected when there's diseases to be allocated responsibility to.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ebony.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, the idea is given that we're less inclined to consider environmental matters. But, you know, thinking about our original conception. I mean, when you consider that there were generations of Africans and Black people that have been severed from our natural environment.
Yeah.
When nature kind of permeated through the social communal livity of us, and our traditions around natural food and spirituality, and the physical connection to nature and the essentiality of nature, and really our role as caretakers of the lands and the natural farming, we've kind of severed from that, and it hasn't been encouraged here, you know. And going back to what your comment, Kindred, about connection to the land again, I'm thinking about my father. My father used to have an allotment, even though we had garden, but farming was really important to him. It was a natural thing, you know, in terms of farming the natural foods and so forth, and just doing the actual physicality of farming and looking after the land and looking after the family with the food and stuff like that, you know. So that connection was there, and yeah, absolutely, it's not promoting in us to do that, and unless we consciously make that effort, I feel like we further get disconnected from the naturality of nature.
Well said.
Which is why you
exactly, yeah.
Which is why you won't see any fights in the garden centre.
No. Kentucky, you will see it. McDonald's. And anywhere where there's a liquor store.
Don't do my people like that.
No, I'm just telling you, we just call it for what it is. You know, we can iron out these kinks, you know, and that's all they are, kinks.
It's true, we can't be too delicate and avoid some of the truths of the not so great side of us.
You understand? To be honest, you know, let's put it this way. You want to go to a garden center, how nice would it be to go to a black run garden center if you live in the West? How nice would it be?
That'd be amazing.
You know what I say? Because Kew Gardens was started by somebody who they call a black woman, Queen Charlotte. She started Kew Gardens. She was the one who bring over green banana and all them stuff there. So they, you know, it's not a nice comment to say that there's no quarrel between black people in a garden center because none of us go there. But we would choose the McDonald's every day and not even think spring is coming. What kind of herbs can I grow up on my windowsill, regardless how big your place is? There's not enough of us doing that. There's not enough of us doing that. So it's just tying with that idea, you know, not trying to be offensive, but just saying, watch it. We can be interested. If Queen Charlotte could have interested in that idea.
It's true, and I think, I mean, it really is that severing, isn't it? I mean, because when I think about who plants in their gardens now, it's the older generations. My parents, my mother's 87, you know, and she still plants a spring onion, squash, you know, plants every single year, you know.
She is in a position to be able to do that, though. And I was thinking, listening to the sisters there, of course, Kush also alluded to, even if you can have it on your windowsill. But I think, you know, that would be all well and good in a more, I think living in a more rural environment would allow for those cultural connections to be more easily utilized and applied, right? Because you'd have the space and the land space to do it. You've got to be thinking, you know, when you think of more urban places and where a number of us during the Windrush era, for instance, were placed, many of us wouldn't have been in a place where we had the capacity to be thinking about planting or you know, flowering or growing our own things. So I think with the allotment has been a beautiful thing in terms of if you look at the African Caribbean community nationwide, if you go down to allotments, you'll see people of color down there. They're very, they take a lot of interest and very proud of their connection in terms of nature there. But I think that one of you also stated that maybe that's being lost, perhaps, with the older generation. That's being taken on by the younger. They seem far less interested. I'd be happy to hear from the younger people as to whether or not they have taken a keen interest in that, or if it's been passed down.
I just want to point to some kind of parallels that are running. Self-hatred has increased over roughly the same period that ourselves seeing ourselves as the first people, or people from Africa, and in saying that, communicating that we are connected to nature. So the further we drift away from that sense, our self-hate seems to increase, and I think our connection to the earth has something to do with that. Not just physically, but psychologically. So somebody can grow some herbs on the windowsill as a step, because it's about having a relationship, And like we were speaking about investing last week, if we're just going to repeat what Europeans do, which is go around the earth, dig up everything, chop everything, burn up everything, then it don't even make sense. I better we just stay always there. And losing and maintaining our connection, I think, is imperative for us to have a different relationship with the earth, because this is a question I'm going to put to us now to think about, is do we think our addiction to cheap meat, for example, is ever thought about enough within its environmental damage? Or do we just think of it as our God-given right to eat steak on Monday, cow foot on Tuesday, curry goat Wednesday, and so on through the week, every day for the week?
I don't think there's very much thought given to food at all, to be quite honest. And just thinking about what Kindred said, I think a part of that demise of the naturality of food and, the consciousness around food is the easy availability and pre-packaged idea of, those carrots, you can just pick them up in the store, but you could easily grow them. And I think it's also about marketing's got a lot to do with it as well. Got so much to do with it. And particularly when we think about it, people are becoming a lot more conscious also about natural foods and organic foods. So now if if we took up the mantle and started growing food, it would be seen more favorably now, because as I said, organic foods are the now thing. Whereas what Kindred was saying before, it was frowned upon to grow your own food. It was, perhaps linked to poverty and so forth. So I think there's perhaps not enough thought going into food and where it comes from. The organic.
Exactly. Have you heard of I think his name is Ron Finley, the gangster gardener?
Yes.
No.
There's a clip we're gonna show.
This is the story of a man who changed the perception of urban spaces with only a seed.
We're in an area where I have kids that tell me that they don't dream. How do you not dream? It's free. So now we have to teach people how to dream, because they live in these areas that don't have no opportunity. People are like, well, you're giving people hope. And I like to say, fuck hope. Because you can't do nothing with hope but hope. But guess what you can do with opportunity? I'm Ron Finley. Some people call me the gangster gardener. Some people call me the renegade gardener. The depression of 2008 hit my business really, really bad. I went to a grocery store in my neighborhood, and I'll never forget there was a tomato that says maybe coated with shellac. Shellac was the stuff we put on our wood in wood shop. And then I would go to other areas and see the difference. I'm like, okay, what's the difference? Why can't we have the same thing? And it just let me know that all of this was by design. And my whole thing was, okay, we need to change the design. And I thought to change it with my garden, start growing my own food.
He's from Compton, basically, and he saw that the same kind of thing where people are just so
Amazing.
disconnected.
Yeah.
You know, his own people are disconnected from it. So he started to do urban gardening then and trying to overcome some of the obstacles which Brother S was pointing out. You know, he was bringing the allotment to the estates or the projects.
Yes.
And because I'm sure he's seen a similar thing, that there's this whole psychological well-being, physical well-being, you know, acceptance of the seasons, acceptance of your own mortality, and all these things which are connected with being around nature. And when you're far from that, it's hard to resolve certain problems because all you're getting is this very 24/7 on the go culture where your humanity doesn't show its full spectrum. So, you know, this is what we're trying to understand, how we can improve that, if there's any truth to that stereotype. Because people may be saying, nah, we're well connected, man. Look, we still got rhythm, we still do all the dancing. So we well connected. You know, we don't need to have our hand in that dirt to be connected.
No, but I guess what I was implying though was, with nature, often with nature comes space. And if you think of the inner cities, the spaces that would have once been natural are such an optimum price now that they're all just being turned into concrete. And so I think there also lies part of the issue about this disconnect, that if you want to find a space that feels natural, you've got to go out.
Yeah.
You've got to go further out, because if you just stay within the relative city environment, there's just less and less of it about.
But Brother S, can I ask you something? Back in the day, wasn't it just always an excursion or 10 happening? Every year you can find an excursion.
Yes.
And it was just nice to get out in the country.
Of course.
You know, singing songs on the bus. But what I'm saying is, no, I think that's fallen off. It's not as popular. It's like we can't stand ourselves for a day if we go to the country and come back.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd argue that. I think,
I still go on some, I'm not saying they're not happening, I'm saying the choice is there, the popularity of it is there. So less of us are getting out is what I'm saying. Not that it's not happening at all. I'm saying it's because I don't know many people who even contact me during the summer and say, hey, 65 excursion, I go on, rate it. It's not like that. It's some smaller numbers.
I know of them and I hear of them, and they're still going on, and it's a great day out. Those functions.
Wow.
They're a really great day out.
Container party can't be.
I think some of that might be to do with the fact that you could, pre-COVID, you could get a cheap flight to Spain for about the same cost as a coach ticket for an excursion. So that's the thing that took off. And cheap flights, cheap beach holidays, but that has an impact on the environment as well.
Well, there you go.
Also a conversation, but that's where that went. And I think in terms of the food as well, there's these things kind of morph, don't they? These situations, because what you have at the moment in some parts of East London, sort of Hackney, Bethnal Greenway, some parts of Lambeth as well, is this whole kind of subculture that has sprung up around. A lot of it is around vegan sort of eating and going back to a plant-based diet, and a lot of that is being driven by the Caribbean community. There are cafes and restaurants springing up around that, and a lot of that is about bringing people back to the healthy elements of our diet.
True.
You can eat the same foods and enjoy it. But you don't have to do it this way. So that there's a whole movement of that's going on, and seems to be gaining strength actually. So that makes me hopeful. And there's a lot of our youngsters.
And can I just add to that, Kindred, that not all the time but quite often there's a spiritual awakening that's going with the food,
Yeah, absolutely.
not just
Yeah.
the kind of, the health benefits fine if people see health benefits in it, but there's a more compassionate way of looking at the world,
Yes.
Yes,
Definitely.
or at least
absolutely.
an effort to be more compassionate.
And I think to make some change, I mean, we are making changes, but I always think that we should also not forget to put the change at the start of the human cycle, in terms of starting with the babies, the
Yeah.
toddlers and so
Yeah.
forth. Really important there. And I found a wonderful organization. I mean, it's quite inspiring, really. And I think it's in Atlanta, and it's called Kindergarten Academy. And it's where this organization of people, children are at the forefront of everything they do. Yeah. And it's like the living, learning laboratory. Yeah. And they teach the children how to plant, how to grow, how to farm and so forth. And it's wonderful. I mean, we'll put a link down below, but it's really worth a look, and it's very inspiring and really, really heartwarming.
Yeah.
That's
a
good to
great shout.
know. Yeah, it's good to know.
So is there a tacit acknowledgement then that there is health benefits for us for being more connected to to nature?
Oh, absolutely.
It definitely is.
Dr. Layla Africa, really, the African holistic health books absolutely teaches us that from cover to cover. And the other book, Nutricide, wonderful books. Wonderful.
So now spring is upon us, and I know we spoke about money, and I'm not going to make up people have money, but try and find some green spaces and take your children with you. Take your children out there, go out there with no devices. Obviously, you need maybe take one device to the parents or two devices to the parents for safety, but just let them get in touch with nature now. It's got to be part of our increasing our calmness and our faith, our groundedness. It has to be a way that we must be showing our children, I would think. Not that we give orders on the show, but
maybe
it
that
wise.
might be one of the unintended benefits of the whole COVID lockdown, that it's given people an appreciation of the green spaces. I've been out in parks and seen them full.
Yeah.
And lots of people who look like me.
Yeah.
Right. So it has given some people, I think, a better appreciation of the fact that these are important spaces, that we need to use them or we'll lose them.
Go get your vitamin D and let them recognize seasons. Let children recognize seasons. Really important.
Yes.
And I think taking on what Brother S was saying about not necessarily having or may not having space to do that, having a garden or even a window box. Let's think a bit creatively. You may have a friend that has a house or have a garden, think community-wise and perhaps share that garden, maybe a little patch to show the children how to put seeds and how to grow and so forth. Let's think more collectively together.
Yeah. There are people out there who cannot even care for their gardens.
Yeah,
would love somebody to come round if it's okay.
But that reminds me, I remember reading Nelson Mandela saying that he was able to grow tomato plants on the windowsill of his cell because that's what helped get him through. So if he could find a way in that situation.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Powerful.
A little container with some dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a start.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
From a mustard seed,
Yeah, literally in some cases.
Yes.
At least and it's a great shout, because at least when the children have a relationship with herbs and spices and seeds and plants and flowers, I'm quite sure it must engender in them a better sense of connectiveness to the world in which they live, rather than just only existing in this world of consumerism where they just think, well, if I want that thing, it's ready made, it's in the pack, I just undo the pack, heat it up and eat it. And the plants give us a good reason and incentive and motivation to share that knowledge with our children so that they're equipped with it, and then they can care more about the world in which they live.
Yeah.
Well
and
said.
make better choices. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Brings a consciousness with it.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah,
You know that they say that, and this is just about our journey as human beings. Some people say they don't believe in evolution; it never happened. I'm not here to say yes or no. I'm just gonna say this: that them say 5 minutes of listening to bird song every day. It's important for human beings in terms of being calm because they've grown together with birds and they know that birds don't sing when there's danger.
Yeah.
So psychologically, the mind,
Absolutely.
it's in sync with nature in that context. So you can imagine some people who grow in concrete jungles and they're not hearing enough birds,
Yeah.
or maybe they have so much stress they're not even hearing the birds. So the whole stress levels are much higher. So the connection is really important. Organize, sit down, reason and talk. Oops, we seem to have run out of time. We were so engrossed in the conversation. That's how it goes sometimes. If you'd like to win this week's giveaway, which is our World Poster Sticker Book, The African Plains, Hours of Reusable Sticker Fun by Peter Haddock, then answer the question, which still remains from our last show. Which prominent black actress turned down the role played by Halle Berry in Monsters Ball? Send us an email to the email address in the description box below. This show is sponsored by Sunrise Organic Sea Moss, whose purchasing details are in the description box below. Until the next time, walk good.
O.R.T is a Glover Media production.